And it is recording.
Cool. All right, this is the Stuff I Heard podcast, and I'm your host, Josh Peak, and we're going to kick it off right now. Hey, everybody. Thanks for tuning in. This is episode 183, and it's January the 24th, 2020. I have a special guest today. I have a returning guest, Josh Treadaway. Say hi to everybody.
Hey, everybody.
We are planning a special weekend. We've planned a special weekend, and this is the first leg of the tour, I guess you'd say. We are getting together tonight, hanging out, and then tomorrow we're heading to Atlanta to go see Joey Diaz with our buddy Greg and my brother Alex. So
56 is still slinging.
Should be fun, yeah. I love it. It's fun. It's going to be fun, dude.
Oh, fantastic. I couldn't believe he's just like, the idea of the concept of the name was, he's got a kid.
Yeah.
He just had a kid like 3-4 years ago.
Yeah. Mercy's amazing, dude. And he's got he talks about it like if you go on the deep dive and listen to him talk, he's got his own podcast. It's the Church of What's Happening Now, where every episode he gets really high, and he has a producer named Lee Sayat, and he calls him the Flying Jew, and he gets them really high on the podcast. And they have guests sometimes they don't. They play music. He doses Lee, and he thinks it's hilarious when Lee passes out. But Uncle Joey's kind of a fixture in the comedy world, especially with Rogan and with Bert, and he's actually Bert's neighbor. He lives around the corner, and there's times where, through the history of listening to these podcasts, I've heard him hang out there quite a bit, and he'll stop by in the middle of a podcast, or he'll call in the middle of a podcast, and Bert's always like, I got to answer this. If I don't answer this, he's going to give me hell about it. he's always like, hey, dog, what you up to? And he's just like a buddy. And he openly talks about his life, about being, really involved in drugs as a kid. I'm sure you saw in The Degenerates, he talks about his mom dying when he was young. He really considered killing himself. He got into drugs real heavy. He talks about the girl saving his life by giving him some nookie.
Yep.
And
then there's also the main one that I kind of thought was amazing was the story about the guy he kidnapped. That was his friend.
He kidnapped a friend of his at Uzi Point, put him in the trunk, and he goes, come to find out it's a felony. He's like, so I went to jail. He goes, but listen, everything has a silver lining. While I was in jail, like, you have a lot of time to think, and they had a talent show, and I literally got on stage just to make fun of these guys that would talk all the time, and that's where my comedy developed. He goes, come to find out, apparently I'm funny, because I could make fun of these guys. And he said, I called them out on all their crap, and I just, there was something about it where other guys in the cells were like, you got a real talent, man, you're really funny. And he's like, really? I don't know what I'm doing. I'm just making fun of you guys. And he goes, yeah, that's how it starts. And he's like, okay. So he didn't really get started in comedy until he was much older. But, by then he'd lived a life of experience. He had a daughter that he really didn't have contact with, who's grown now, and he still doesn't have contact with. But, life has kind of thrown him a curveball where he met his wife, and they have a daughter now. And he's like, I had a daughter at 50. He's like, I'm 56 now. And holy crap, I can't believe I got this opportunity to be a part of this little girl's life. And
he loves it too.
Yeah,
you hear him talk about it. He absolutely loves it. The only thing he loves more than comedy is that little girl, apparently.
Yep. And he's got a really solid friendship with Ari and Bert and Joe. And, for years, Joe took him on the road because Joe was like, listen, you are funny. You need to just be in front of people. And he said, I took him for years until I couldn't follow him anymore. And I was like, you got to do your own tour, man. You're your own thing. He said, I've been telling people forever, you're the funniest person I know. And, it blossomed into something. I saw Joey in concert in Charlotte at the Comedy Zone. It's a little tiny venue. I don't know how many people it holds. I always underestimate how many people are in the room, but I would guess it's maybe 300 people. I don't know.
Okay, Tabernacle's a little bit bigger than that, though, right?
Tabernacle's much bigger.
It's like 3,000?
Tabernacle, I want to say, is around 2,000.
Okay.
It's got 3 levels, an old church that's been converted into a music venue, live performance venue.
So it's kind of like the township in Columbia.
I haven't been in the township, but it's an old abandoned church, and they have like mosaics and like the stained glass windows and stuff like that. It's really beautiful on the inside. Hand painted everything on the ceiling. It's very ornate, and it's like it has sort of a cool hippie vibe to it also.
Oh, so you've actually been to this venue?
I went there.
What did you go see?
I went to see Joe. I went to see Joe
Oh,
Rogan.
okay.
I did a solo trip by myself to Atlanta to see him. Because I kept talking to people, like, who wants to go see Joe? And no one replied. And back then, I was just like, well, I guess I'm going by myself, because I felt like I owed it to Joe. As much as I listened to him on his podcast, I thought, all these hours of entertainment that I'm getting for free, and I haven't bought a shirt because there's none of his shirts that I really like. I'm not going to buy one of those mugs because it's not the size mug I use. I want to support him in some way, and rather than just mailing an envelope with some money going, thanks for the free content, let me go to a show. This is the thing he does for a living. This is the thing he has pride in. And I went and I had a great time. It was really awesome. I stayed downtown within walking distance. I want to say it was maybe a quarter mile, but it wasn't bad. And, I had told my wife, I said, I'm going there and I don't really know how far it is. I've Google mapped it. It's only a quarter mile. I may take an Uber, I may walk. I don't know. We'll just see how it works out. And when I got there, the weather wasn't bad. I want to say it was like April and maybe, in the 40s. But I was like, it's comfortable. I can walk. And I'm a dude, so I'm safe to walk. I mean, if I were her, I'd be afraid because,
Atlanta's
you're
not the
vulnerable.
safest place.
Right. But I'm a grown man, and, if you're a predator, you're going to look for an easy target. I'm not an easy target. If you take a look at me, you're like, I think I'll wait for the next one,
Yeah, you're a much bigger guy than I am. So
well, no, but I mean, you're a big guy. Like, if they're looking for a target, they're not going to be like, I'm going to try my chances with that dude. No, they're going to wait for a girl to walk by, someone frail, someone feeble, someone they can dominate. They're not going to take their chances if they're going to get hurt. So they look at guys and they just generally go, nah, that's okay, I'll pass. I'll wait for the next one. So I was fine. I walked downtown, walked to the venue. It was easy. Walked up right away. I knew it was at the right event because everybody's smoking weed outside and having a good time, and there's music playing outside, and people are passing around pamphlets to sign up to save the whales and to legalize marijuana and this and that.
Which it should be, by the way.
And totally agree. And but it was a fun vibe, and got inside, got up to the top level, went ahead and got a mixed drink right away, sat down, and I got great seats. I was on the top level of this thing. It was multi-tiered. But I was on the top level at the front seat on the corner.
Oh, nice. So you didn't have any obstructive view whatsoever.
Nobody was in front of me.
Straight all the way to the stage.
Yeah.
That's a good seat.
Solid.
Did you pick that seat automatically?
Yeah.
Or?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
When I bought the tickets, when they went on sale, I got to pick what seat I wanted, and I didn't know what the venue was like. I knew that the tickets down low were much more expensive, and I was like, this is because at the time, it was the first time I'd gone to see Joe. I didn't know what to expect. I didn't know.
You weren't quite ready to put that money down for that.
It's kind of a heavy investment if you're going to...
Not like Bert Kreischer when you're up in the front stage where you can feel the sweat coming off of him.
Right. Well, with Bert, I knew what I was getting. He tells some of his jokes on his podcast where he's developing jokes. He's like, I got this joke I'm working on. It comes off this story. And he's a story comic, so he'll tell you the real story of what happened. And he's like, there's a joke in there somewhere. He's got to find the joke. So with Joe, his is part of that too, but it's observational stuff that he has where he gets an idea and he's like, holy crap, there's a joke in there. And he'll develop it, but he won't talk about it on the show. He'll save it. And he does perform regularly in the LA area. He talks about going out to the Comedy Store and several other places, the Ice House, the Improvs and stuff like that. But all over that area, maybe not the Improv. Anyway, he goes around that area and he says he does about 4 sets a week, just going out to different clubs and trying it out and seeing what the crowd's like and what they don't like and changing it up. And he says he takes his phone and he goes into the notes program and hits the audio and he just sits it on the bar stool and he talks and it writes down everything he says. And he says, sometimes there's real nuggets in there of something I riff on where if the crowd goes crazy, I go, hey, that was really good. What did I say? And he's like, as soon as you say it, a lot of times you can't even remember what you said. Some weird combination of things you say. And he's like, I started doing that and that kind of helps me write because then I go back later and I write it down and I go, oh, this worked. That was pretty good. Let me try a different way to the next night. So, like I said, going to see Joe, I didn't know what to expect. I didn't feel like I was paying an exorbitant amount for the ticket. Actually, the hotel was pretty pricey there. But it was wintertime, so the prices were down. And it wasn't bad. And, my wife was supportive and she was like, listen, I know you get a lot from this podcast. I know you like Joe. Go have a good time. I was like, all right, cool. The hotel lobby had a little bar. I think I ate dinner in the bar. I didn't really want to walk around the town. I didn't want to go too far from where I was at. I wasn't really adventurous then as much as I am now. But doing these over time, I'm more like, let's see what's in the area. Let's take a stroll. That was one of the things that Greg and I got to do when we get to see Bert is we were in an area where there were things within walking distance all around us. And we literally just looked on the map and went, let's just take a walk in that direction and see what's down there.
Well, Charlotte's a much better and safer city than Atlanta.
Yeah. But, also, I never saw the first hint of anything that looked sketchy where I was at. And it may have been because of where the tabernacle's at.
Well, that's probably what it is. They probably made sure that venue was in a little bit, it wasn't near like, the old underground kind of area where that's where a lot of kind of, that bad side of Atlanta is.
The only sketchy stuff I saw was after the concert, there were people driving on the wrong side of the road, blowing the horn at people going the right way. And there was an incident where I really thought that someone was going to turn into the crowd and just drive over people. So there was a little tension after the concert walking back, but finally the idiot realized they were going the wrong way and they turned around and they blew the horn a lot and did some burnouts and then took off. They watched Fast and the Furious one too many times. One of those guys.
I got you.
Little took that in. But anyway, I guess you do what you do for attention, right? But I'm looking forward to this. Joey's playing a big venue. This is a big deal. He did do his Netflix special on the Degenerates, little small section. And, you were talking about, I hope he doesn't do the same material. He's not. He's gearing up for the next thing. He just recorded a Netflix special, so this is going to be new material even then. One of the things I hear them talk about is once they burn material, they just want to move on. Like they've been performing it so many times, they're ready to just pass it back and just go forward. It's sort of like, it's weird. I really think I could have gotten into this, like being a stand-up performer, if we knew what we know now back then. I was scared to talk in front of people at one point, but, I've always tried to find the funny in everything. And when I got out of the Marine Corps, I would literally we had a bar downtown called 231 South where on Monday nights they would have comedy. And before the comedy would start, they'd say, "You may got a joke you want to tell? We win a prize." And I was like, I'm looking around the room that's just petrified to walk up on stage. And I go, "I got a joke." And they're like, "Well, come on up." And I tell a joke. And I thought, my participation is nothing, but if I give it a shot, who knows? I might win a free dinner because they had a restaurant attached to it and they made really good food. And I won. First time I got on stage, I won. I was like, "Oh, cool." And all I did was just tell a joke that I'd heard and stuff I heard, right? So it got to be a thing where on every Monday night I would go up there and I would literally be sitting in the crowd and someone would come up to me and tell me a joke and they go, "Go tell that one." And I'm like, "It's your joke. You go tell it." "No, I can't go on stage." And I'm like, I feel like a fraud telling your joke. I mean, I heard it from somebody and you go do it. You go do it. And I was like, after a while, them going, "Has anybody got anything? Anybody?" And I'm like, "I'll do it." Apparently, I wasn't afraid to get on stage. It was weird because as soon as I got up there, I'm looking at the lights, I'm looking at the people, and I'm like, "Oh, how do people do this on a regular basis?" Now, I heard Whitney Cummings talk about this. The reason why stand-up is so against your human nature is usually when you're standing in front of a group of people in history, it was because you belong to a community. And if you were in front of a group of people, it was because you did something wrong and they're trying to kick you out or kill you and you're trying to defend yourself. So your natural habitat is to panic and worry because you're in trouble. So the idea of doing stand-up and getting in front of people and going, "Hey, I'm going to make you laugh about some stuff you really feel uncomfortable about. We're going to talk about it anyway," is weird. It's a weird life. And listening to these characters on these podcasts, they're all weird. And I dig it. I'm in it. I can relate to it. I'm friends with weird, broken people. And I like weird, broken people.
Present.
I told somebody recently, I said, people are like clay. And I would rather be friends with lumpy clay than anything that's smooth. Because smooth, I can't relate to smooth. People who've coasted through life and everything's worked out for them, I have nothing to talk to you about. What am I going to talk to you about?
There's nothing. There's absolutely nothing.
Your perception on the world is going to be totally different than ours. I mean, our perception is like, "Hey, I've got some lumps in my past, and that's kind of what created me. And because of that, I can laugh at really inopportune times and find the humor in it, but I can also persevere and withstand things. Whereas if you have anything happen to you, you're going to crumble. That's not me, and that's not my friends." So, I feel lucky in the fact that as young kids, we found each other in our own brokenness and somehow bonded together and made our own little tribe.
100%, man. It was the same way for me. I was broken. I was broken bad. I was trying to pretend like I wasn't, but I was. And somehow or another, you just, you decided to kind of take me under your wing a little bit as being a year older than me. And I thought you were funny and cool. And I was like, hang out with this guy. I was nowhere near as open a person as I am nowadays.
Right. And
I actually attest a lot of that to you and Greg and Rodney and Wes to some degree as well.
Yeah.
All of you guys were so or even if you weren't, you seemed to me like you were just cool with whatever. It didn't matter if it was cool or not. You were just going to be living your life, and that was it. But people didn't care about it. People didn't like it. So what? You were having a good time.
Right.
And that was something that was a new concept to me. And
Well,
so I took it and ran with it the best I could.
Your situation was different than ours in the fact of, you know, you had a rough experience as a kid, and you know, your situation with your mom was rough, and you know, your siblings was rough, and you know, it honestly never occurred to me of anything other than, hey, I like talking to this guy and he's pretty fun to hang out with. Let's keep him hanging out because, you know, we need another person and he's fun to hang out with, and well, why not? And every time we hung out, we had a good time, and I was like, all right, he just fits in. Like, he gets our weird sense of humor and we get his, and this is all great. You know, and take our lumps as it was, we all grew as people. And, you know, I keep thinking about, I know this is probably not the place to talk about it, but I keep thinking about the thing with Lawrence Ludd and how heartbreaking that was for you, especially being so close to him. And you may not want to talk about it. If you don't, we can talk about something else.
No, man, I can talk about it now. But, I mean, it's been some years, and I've had time to kind of come to grips with it, and you know, it still hurts.
Yeah.
It's still, you know, I still don't understand, but yeah, I can talk about it.
So Lawrence was really close to you. Y'all played baseball together, and y'all lived near each other.
Well, he played baseball. I just kind of pretended to try to be a baseball player. I love the game. It's the most important game in my life, but I was horrible at it. And, but no, he was a fantastic guy. He was a great baseball player. And he same thing, kind of like, you know, what happened with you. I mean, when I first moved here to Florence, he just took me under his wing. I don't know why. I don't know how, but he just, you know, he felt like I needed protected. And so he did. And he basically became like a big brother to me. And then, you know, later on in high school, he got to be a little bit more involved in baseball, trying to get scholarships and stuff like that. So we didn't really hang out as much.
And he was talented. I mean, he was a good baseball player.
He was a great baseball player. He honestly, that's the reason why Ricky Henderson was my favorite player, because they both had that same kind of style, you know, short, stocky, fast.
Really fast.
Five tools all the way across the board. I mean, you know, if you needed him to go on the mound and pitch a ball, he could pitch a ball. He could throw it 90 miles an hour in high school. Maybe even higher, I don't know. But, you know, but he was just amazing. And I was in college, and a buddy of ours, Justin Files, called me up and basically told me that he had been shot.
Yeah.
And I wasn't sure how to react. And the next thing he said was 2 shots. First one went through his heart.
Yeah.
And I'm like, where is he in the hospital? And it didn't dawn on me.
Yeah.
And then, you know, eventually it dawned on me, and I figured it out, and I came back and dealt with it best I could, and every day I deal with it. I mean, I think about him all the time. I mean, you know, I miss him.
Right. Well, and he was, like, I've been lucky in the fact that none of my friends have passed away. And as a young man, you know, here was a guy with a promising future who was really close to you, who got taken away. And it was heartbreaking for everybody, even people who barely knew him. I barely knew him, but I was affected by it, and it was like a kick in the gut. And then, you know, I couldn't imagine what you were going through at the time, and you know, in a way, I felt bad that I wasn't around to kind of be here to go through that with you. But at the same time, it was your journey, and everything kind of informs us about the people we are in the future. So all of those steps that were taken up to that point and moving forward, you got a lot of information from that, whether it's through friendship or the conversations that y'all had or the things that you did that informed you about how you wanted to treat people from that point on. And if nothing else, his involvement helped inform you of that.
Oh, 100%. His involvement in my life changed me completely. I mean, you know, it's funny to me. When you met me, I was kind of shy.
Yeah.
Before I met Lawrence, you won't even know what shy was.
Right.
I mean, I was a mama's boy. I stayed in the house. I didn't do anything. I didn't want to hang out with anybody. I was a lone wolf by myself, but lonely.
Right.
But I was unwilling to talk to people because I didn't think they would accept me, because I came from, you know, trailer park trash, and I came from, you know, no idea of what real life was about, because I'd been on basically taking care of myself since I was 5 years old, because my mom had to get a job, and we didn't have, I didn't know my dad till I was 7 kind of thing. And so, so when I met Lawrence, he just immediately just accepted me for who I was and didn't try to change me, but at the same time, he tried to help me grow.
Right.
And then, like I said, once you met me, I was light years from what I was when Lawrence met me.
Well, when I moved here in 6th grade, and I met Rodney first on the playground. This little Asian kid come up and hit me on the arm and goes, "Tag, you're it." And I was like, "What?" I chased him, and after that, we became friends, weirdly enough. We were both from the Atlanta area, but we didn't really talk about Atlanta. But the weird thing was, when we moved here, the people who lived here all their lives were very cliquish, and they were very, like, I don't know, to me it was fake.
Oh, it was total fake. It was total fakeness.
And I didn't bond with any of that. I mean, I came from real salt of the earth people that work construction and, blue collar jobs and real life or death situations their whole lives. And I wasn't, like, coming up, I wasn't in any way attracted to anybody who talked BS. Like, either you're a real person or you're not. I didn't have time for any other crap. And so it was hard for me to make friends when I moved here. And I got lucky along the way. Like, when in 7th grade, I met Richard Yeomans, and we bonded over baseball. And then he got a car, and next thing I know, he's driving, and I'm riding with him, and we're staying out all night and listening to crazy music on his little radio, and we're working. And then I meet Greg along the way, and then along the way, somewhere in high school, I realized, oh, I could just make friends with all the new people because they don't know anybody either. And I can just start off from day one and just be honest, because people always respond to honesty better. So I can just walk up to people randomly and be like, "Hey, you new here? Hey, I'm Josh, by the way. Where are you from?" And just every new face I saw, I just thought, what have I got to lose? I'll just talk to everybody, which was so not like me up to that point because I was so shy about everything. But I thought, screw this. This is my life. I got to make a choice here. I'm just going to talk to everybody. And you and I had a class your freshman year. We were in French class together and immediately just started bonding. I mean, I think I was a sophomore. You were a freshman. They sat us next to each other with Josh West's brother, Gabriel.
Yes.
Which is weird because my name is Joshua Gabriel, and I didn't even know Josh West then. But the fact that they have the same names as me is like, that's kind of weird. But anyway, Gabe kind of bonded with us at the same time.
I felt like I was closer to Gabe than I was with Wes for years.
Yeah. I lost touch with Gabriel over the years. He's a grown up now. He's got kids and everything. He's, doing his thing. But like, I just fell out of touch with him. But, for whatever reason, you and I clicked, and that was just it. I mean, over the years of high school, like, we just continued to grab other people around us and go, "Hey, you should be in this group too. Hey, you should be in this group. Hey, you're new. Come over here. Why don't you talk to us?" And we just kind of built our own little thing out of nothing and just kept going from there. And I mean, some people came and left, and that was fine or whatever.
But the core's here.
The core's still here.
I mean, as a matter of fact, this weekend, with the exception of Rodney and Josh,
we got together. We had a thing for our 20th reunion. You weren't at that one, but everybody came here to meet. And I think Greg spent the night, and Rodney came into town. And I remember thinking, I'm going to this thing, but like, I really don't care about any of these people we're going to see.
The people you're here with right there.
The people that are here, I've kept in contact with all this time, and that, I don't know if that's a failure on my part, or if it's just a different level
it's
of
just
bonding.
a different level of life. I mean, people will go on and move on and different things. And like on your last podcast, you mentioned the fact that you went there and you saw people that you didn't realize, but they recognized you.
Yeah.
You made an impact, obviously.
Somehow, or maybe it's just the fact that my face didn't change much from when I was in high school.
Well, that's true too. You have not changed very much.
I'm physically fatter, but my face looks real similar. I mean, whereas a lot of these guys, their faces look different. And I don't know, I look at people and I was like, you kind of look familiar, but I can't quite place you. But even then, maybe we had 3 conversations in high school. And what are we, like, I had people come up to me, "Hey, what you up to?" I mean, a lot if you really want to know, but you don't really want to know. You just want to be
right. It's just the pleasantries of conversation as far as like this is what I'm supposed to say.
Right. It's a kind thing you say in passing, and I get that. Whatever. It is what it is. But I thought, okay, is there a reason for me to go to any of these in the future? Probably not. No. Because the people I want to talk to, I keep in contact with. And now that we have Facebook, you can see that all the cheerleaders turned fat, and you can see that all the cool guys in high school now are bald and fat, and we we all got fat. I mean, basically. But, you know, life was unkind to a lot of people in high school that they then turned into grit and they became better people as adults. Whereas the people that had it easy in high school later in life got kicked in the teeth a lot because they weren't prepared for the adversity that they were going to face. Because up to that point, everything had been easy. Everything had been given to them. And it's a little ironic because it goes in waves. So I think that, you know, at the 20th reunion, this was a lot of them going, holy crap, like I really haven't done much of my life. And here's a lot of people who did. I think that from that point moving forward, a lot of them took ownership of their life and they've changed things. I think that, you know, obviously Facebook lets us see that now, but a lot of them go, I'm not really living my life. I've lived up to this point under some false pretense of what I thought an adult was, but it's time for me to live my life. So you see them like taking ownership now and doing new things. And it's inspiring. I mean, one of the things that I wanted to do when I started this thing was to share it with everybody because I thought other people can do this. I didn't figure out how to make water into wine. This is literally an app that you can download and you can do it yourself. Why not, if anybody's interested, show other people how to do this? So, I mean, you mentioned doing, you know, voiceover work and stuff like that, and I thought, yeah, you could kind of do your own podcast too. I mean, you've got a voice for it, and if you got in the routine of doing it, you would find your own voice in just doing a routine of saying something. Even if it's yourself talking into your phone for 30 minutes like I did, and eventually you're going to find your own voice. You're going to be like, I got something I want to say. Here's my opinion on things. And we can all do it. It's not, like I said, it's not a superpower. There's nothing special about it. It's just literally, let me give it a shot.
Right. Well, I mean, like I did actually take that little bit of advice. I did actually download a voice recorder on my phone. And occasionally I'm in the car and I just hit record and I'll just kind of record something. It originally started off because I wanted to hear my voice. Because everyone I talk to or people that I, you know, especially in the waiting business, waiting tables business, bartending kind of thing, I get a lot of people that say, oh, you have a magnificent voice. I can't hear my voice. I hear the same voice that I've heard all my life. I don't feel anything to it. And
it sounds different when you record it and listen to it back. Right. You're like, do I really sound like that?
Exactly. So
because even to yourself, you're like, that sounds weird.
That did. You know, one of the funniest stories I ever heard when I was selling beer for Better Brands. I had this one lady that I was her bar didn't open until 4:00 in Georgetown, and so I was unable to make it to her bar. So I just talked to her on the phone every, you know, two times a week. She heard my voice. Well, one day she was open and I was in Georgetown late, and it was one of those days where it was kind of like a marketing day. I didn't have to rush back, so I stood around and waited to meet her. Well, I walked in and went to introduce myself, and she said, hey, you can't be Josh. She said, I talked to a big black man. I said, well, the voice may sound like it, but I'm Josh.
They've told me that I am.
So that was something, and I don't hear that. So I recorded it to try to see, you know, of course I've heard my voice on your podcast a couple of times and things like that. But I wanted to get more of an idea of, you know, me talking and that kind of thing and hearing it in a longer stretch. And I was shocked because it actually does sound a lot different than what I hear in my head when I'm talking.
Yeah, well, we all do. You know, my wife in the beginning, she kept saying, when I started the YouTube stuff, she's like, don't put me on camera. Don't want me on camera. And I was like, okay, fine. So I kept recording and not putting her on camera. And I think the first time I put her on camera was when she did her first 5K. I was like, I'm recording this, and you better be comfortable with it because this is a big deal, and you want to look at this one day and look back at it and go, I did it, even if this is the only one you ever do. And I recorded it.
Far from was.
And that kind of spurred her on to, she kept looking back at it and going, that wasn't so bad. And so more and more, I started turning the camera towards her, and she did less of the, no. She started talking to the camera. At one point, she's doing the Disney half princess or the half marathon at Disney, and she's got her phone, and she's recording herself talking about, look at this is so. She made her own YouTube video, and she was like, I got lots of content I'm gonna put on there. I'm like, what? She goes, I recorded the whole thing, and I was like, get out of here, get out of town. She gave me like, you know, an hour's worth of stuff recorded almost. I mean, I was like, holy cow!
Oh wow!
Took pictures, did video. She's like, this is so awesome. Look at this, and she's just showing everything. And I was like, how about that? You're a creator too, but. You know, fast forward now, and she's doing once a month with her girlfriends doing a podcast. And, you know, one of the things I've always enjoyed is the fact that we all have the ability to do whatever we want. It's just a matter of getting out of our own way, right? So literally, I mean, if you decided tomorrow, you're like, you know what? I'm gonna start training for an Ironman. Why not? I've never done one. I feel like I got the Bert Kreischer, Mickey Mantle gene. I can just do this. Supreme confidence reigns over everything. Let me just see if I can do it. And you can do it.
Oh, no doubt.
You're just not saying you have to win it, but
no, you're just going to finish it.
You just go out and do it. I mean, he did the sprint one. It was like, I think it took like 3 total hours to do. But he was like, why not? Why not say I can do the grand thing and then try? And he did it. He also ran a full marathon with no training.
Yeah, I heard that one actually.
Which he goes, I strictly advise against that
Yeah,
in the future.
I'm sure he was in a lot of pain the next day.
But
and a few days after that.
But it's an example of...
Because mine never matter.
Mine never matter.
I mean, if you truly believe in something and you want to do it, there's not a person in the world that can say, oh, I just can't do that. If you believe you want to do it and you can do it, you will do it.
When you're younger, you're really concerned about what other people are going to think about you. And then for a while, you doubt yourself because you're like, well, I'm not that person, so I can't do what they do. And then when you get a little older, you go, why do I give a shit what anybody thinks? It's that when you get to that point, you start going, oh, I'm finally free.
Well, that's actually what I was going to say is basically that was what you and Greg helped me with. Like even at that young of an age, you guys were basically to the point. I mean, whether you believed it or not, you showed me that it doesn't matter what I think of what people think of me. It's all about what I think of myself.
Right.
I mean, you guys didn't care about what people thought about y'all. Y'all were just who you were and happy about it.
I wanted to be silly. I wanted to be...
Well, you were.
I wanted to be...
That's scary also.
I wanted to be dangerous. I wanted to be silly. I wanted to be...
You wanted to be in an orange Bronco driving really, really fast late night.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I had a stepdad on cocaine showing me that you could drive 90 miles an hour around town, and all you had to do was just pull into the parking lot fast enough and turn the truck off. Nobody would know that you were doing it. And I thought, okay, this is normal. So I drove like that as following the example, and apparently you really can't do that because the cops don't like it so much, and neither does the people in Greg's neighborhood. And they'll tell you so.
Nor the very scared young boy in the back seat.
Hey, you enjoyed every bit of it. I wasn't going to let you get hurt. Not that I had a lot of control of that, but anyway.
In retrospect, I agree with that, but at the time, a very shy kid who was just way out of his element was scared as he could be in the backseat of that Bronco.
I was trying to get you laid, but anyway.
Well, yeah, but, Mars Bluff wasn't exactly the best place for me.
No, it wasn't. And I was, there's so many elements of your own life that you review over and you go, I should have handled that differently. I should have handled that differently. And we always think about that more than the other people do. Every interaction that you have, you're your own worst critical person about the situation over anybody else. Like, what was it? I heard, I had a guy at work telling me, he's like, man, he says, everybody's always talking about me and thinking about me and messing with me. And I said, trust me, when they go home, they're not. They're only thinking about themselves. I said, when you go home, do you worry about you or do you worry about me? And he goes, me. I said, so does everybody else. Nobody cares about you. Like, they just want you to do your job. That's it. Just do your job. That's it. All you need to do. But we all psychoanalyze ourselves and we have interactions with each other and we go, boy, I really handled that wrong. And there was a lot of opportunities where I could have done more and I didn't, and I could have been more and I didn't, and I could have had more self-esteem and I didn't, and a lot of it was just lack of self-esteem and me figuring I got to figure out a way out of this, and the only way I know how to do it is to blindly just do something, because the difference between me and them is I'm willing to do it, whatever it is. Now, Greg was the one that surprised me because, we went to a local river, a local creek, I should say, Black Creek. We got invited somehow from some people at school. Hey, let's go there. We're gonna go swimming. It was hot. We didn't really know anybody, but we were like, screw it, we'll go. And I think I had a Datsun 260Z, 1974, was prone to break down on me all the time. And this was on a dirt road that you had to basically drive a 4x4 through. And I thought, I can make it. And I made it. And we got back there. And then once we got back there, we saw this tree hanging over the creek and the opportunity to swing out on a rope and jump into the creek. And they all said, all right, when you swing out here, you got to look out for these roots. There's roots here, 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 here. Don't fall on those because they're going to get hurt. But if you fall here, you're going to be fine. And I look up and Greg's climbing up this tree. and everyone's jumping off this branch that's from where I'm standing maybe 12 feet above me, and the water's maybe another 10 or 12 feet below us. Greg keeps climbing until he gets to the top of the tree where it's starting to sway and maybe break. And that's where he decides, I'm going to jump from here. And I thought, oh no, he's going to die. And we didn't have cell phones. Like, if he died,
right,
like that was just like...
He was dead, yeah. I mean, like, you couldn't get him to the hospital in time.
There was no turning back from this. And he, before we could say, no, don't, he jumped off, did the jackknife thing, and then went face first into the creek like this, and then we all went, and then he come out, and we were like, ah! I mean, it was one of those moments you're like, he's dead, he's alive, and it was just, and I don't even know if he thought about it before he did it, or if he'd done, I don't know. I don't know if he's done, obviously he's dove enough to know how to jackknife and go face first into something, and apparently he has no fear of heights or the repercussions of jumping into roots in a creek, but he did it, and he lived, and it was like one of those moments I thought, boy, we just got lucky, and now you're a superstar. Because here's 40 people that didn't know us before that suddenly know who you are. I couldn't believe he made it, but not only did he make it, he did something amazing that no one else was willing to do. They were like, "You were the man," and it was like, "Holy cow! I can't believe you just did that." He goes, "Yeah, it's pretty dangerous, wasn't
it?" In retrospect,
I was like, "What about the roots?" He goes, "Yeah, they hurt." And so, we were lucky enough that his mom and my parents had above ground pools, and we would flock at each other's above ground pools. And once I realized he wasn't afraid to jump off of stuff, I thought, well, I've never jumped, off of stuff. Let's see what I'm willing to do. So we would jump off of various things,
like the garage,
into a 3-foot above ground pool.
Yes.
Really
not the smartest thing in the world.
Really bad idea, by the way, if you're out there thinking, I want to try that. But listen, this was before Jackass was a TV show.
Yeah.
And literally, like, I'm watching this stuff now on YouTube, and I'm like, oh, if we'd have had YouTube then, we would definitely be dead now. Because we'd have done some stupid stuff. Because we kept amping each other up. We were like, all right, I did that, now I'm going to up you one, and we just kept coming up with new and more dangerous things to do. And I thought, God, if we were, if we'd have had GoPros, if we'd have had dirt bikes, if we'd have had XYZ, doesn't matter what it was, we would have found a way to up the ante a little bit more each time. And I thought, how did we get lucky enough to make it through that? But also, that was really cool. That was really cool. There's a certain advantage to being left alone as a kid. And I mean, we got lucky in the fact that none of us were into drugs. We didn't go down a real dark path. We got really lucky. I mean, I look at like,
I think it actually had a lot to do with the fact that we were all together. I mean, like, none of us ever kind of strayed from that same group.
But we had a morality.
For too far.
We had a morality about us that we're like, we're not going to do anything to really get hurt, but we're gonna run close to the edge on a lot of things. But we're not. There's certain things we're just. I don't want to explain this to my mom, kind of deal. I really don't want to have this conversation with my mom because this is gonna suck. And at the end of the day, we were just trying to figure out who we were, and I think it's almost like that primal thing of pecking order, the alpha or whatever that you call it in the wild, where normally dudes fight each other a lot. We weren't fighting each other. We were fighting life. We were fighting our own limits with each other, side by side with each other, but we were testing each other as hard as we could, whether it was basketball or swimming or whatever. It was, how much further can I push myself so that you're impressed? And we just kept doing that. And I mean, I keep reading that thing online that says, what if you could go back in time and remember the last day you played outside with your friends? Breaks my heart. I'm like,
yeah.
Why would you say something like that? But I read it and I'll go, oh, yeah. God.
There was the last day. At some point, there was the last day when we were last day on the basketball court together.
Yeah. There was a day where we were just like, all right, that was the last one. But we never
we never knew it.
We never knew it. But that was a day. And, you think back of it and you're just like, God, we spent so much time, swimming, playing basketball, hanging around each other, singing, driving, whatever. I mean, playing cards, playing pool, you name it. And one day we just didn't. We grew up. But we get to hang out this weekend. And I'm
Absolutely.
excited about that.
We'll do it all over again.
Yeah.
See if we can find something stupid this weekend.
Yeah. So anyway.
But still fun.
I did want to talk about, this is the Stuff I Heard podcast, so other than us reminiscing and talking about growing older and whatnot, as old men do, I did want to talk about this, which I find extremely funny, and maybe you do too. Did you hear Tim Tebow got married?
No, I did not hear that.
Tim Tebow got married, and I don't even know how to pronounce her name. She has one of those 4 or 3 name deals. Demi Linnell Peters. She's Miss Universe and Miss South Africa from 2017. Smoking hot, by the way. But I have this thing of Tim Tebow that I really admire him as probably one of the greatest college football quarterbacks we've ever seen play the game. The game, I hated Florida. I hated them. But that one game they lost to, I don't even remember who it was.
I believe it's Mississippi State, I believe, yes. And after the speech.
The press conference, he goes, I guarantee you no one will ever outwork us like we will work ourselves from this point on. And I knew like NCAA regulations were like, you can't work out more than this as a team but you can do your own stuff.
Right.
And he goes, I guarantee you we are doing, and now, I mean, his motivation of saying that, and from that point on, they dominated. And I was like, holy cow. But watching him in college and then watching him try to transfer to the pros, it really didn't transfer, even though he won as a pro quarterback, running the ball and throwing 6 interceptions. They went to the playoffs with the Denver Broncos. And you're like, I can't believe I'm watching this happen. It's like having Barry Sanders pretend to be quarterback. Just his moves on the field, he just wasn't going to be denied to win. And different teams kept wanting to pick him up, and we want you to play like a tight end, but also you can throw. And he was like, no, I'm going to be a quarterback. I'm like, no, you're not. And so he's been fun to watch as a commentator, and I know he's made a life as like a personal speaker, and he's all about Jesus, and he talked about doing the work of God. And there's a lot of talk about him being a virgin up to this point. And I don't know how old the guy is. He's got to be in his 30s now, right?
Yeah, I'd probably say late 20s, early 30s.
So he's a devout Christian, and he says he wanted to wait till he got married to have sex, and a lot of people picked on him, and a lot of people gave him grief over the fact that he would kneel on the sidelines to pray, and they were like, you can't do that. He's like, wait, I can't pray? Like, I don't have freedom of religion? Like, what in the world? People gave him a really hard time about it, but he stuck with his guns, and he did the right thing. And now he got married to this smoking hot girl, and I'm sure that he dated other girls, and it was like a deal breaker for them, because they were like, listen, I'm a grown-up, and you need to grow up. And he was like, no, this is what I believe. And he must have found the right girl. I mean, you don't wait till your 30s to go, screw it, I'm all in. I mean, you have morals and you have values, and you stick to your morals and values. And now he's with her, and I just want him to be on TV one time. This is the joke. I just want him to be on TV one time and go, guys, I know I've been talking a lot about Jesus, but if you guys had sex, holy cow, that's crazy. I mean,
wow. Who needs football?
I can't talk enough about it. Holy cow, and I married a smoking hot,
I would have gave up football.
I just wanted to just go off the rails and be like, you guys, you don't even understand, man. This is amazing, All I can picture is him and the Los Lonely Boys, was it Lonely Island Boys? I just had sex. The song? You know the song?
No,
I just had sex?
No.
Oh, I gotta play it for you later. It's the guys that do Dick in the Box and.
Oh, okay.
You know
Adam
Greenberg.
Yeah.
Not Goldberg.
No, Seth Greenberg.
And
yeah, I know you're Saturday Night Live guys. I got you.
Yeah, Saturday Night Live guys.
Yeah.
So they have a song about I just had sex, and it's
Didn't they also do the one I'm on a boat?
I'm on a boat.
Yeah. That one's for you, Greg. I'm on a boat.
Yeah. So I'll play that for you later, and you'll get a kick out of it. But I wanted to revise that and have Tebow in it, and goes, he's like, giving you a thumbs up or something. That was my only joke of the whole thing. I just wanted to say that out loud. I told my wife, and she didn't think it was that funny, but I was like, my friends don't think it was funny.
I think it's fantastic.
So
it would be fantastic TV as well.
It would be funny. I mean, listen, I'm all behind you, Tim Tebow, and I approve of all of your choices so far, and stick to your guns, and continue to tell other people this is the way I want to live my life, and I'm going to do it anyway, no matter what you think. So I'm proud of you, and hey, it paid off. Just saying.
Good things happen to good people, right?
Yes, sir, buddy. So, you got anything you want to talk about before we close this out?
No, not really. I mean, we kind of covered most of the stuff.
You got your podcast you want to talk about?
Yeah, my podcast. Yeah, I know you keep trying to push that one. I know. It might be coming. I got to figure out what my niche is. But
Josh West says he's going to start a podcast.
Yeah, the pickleball podcast.
No, he actually said that he's going to do one about racing. And I thought, well, there's a topic you could talk about.
Oh, yeah.
He says that Angie wants to do one too. And I was like, huh.
Cars go round and round.
You turn left, you know. Yeah. I like that part when they turn left. That's my favorite part, man. Just kidding. Listen, I'm all behind him. I'm supporting him. I keep razzing him because he's not doing it. He's got to have the follow through. What are you afraid of?
Wes, you know I'm just busting your balls. I'm telling you, brother, I'm proud of you, and I know you'll probably do it as well.
He doesn't listen to this. He doesn't listen to any of this.
Oh, he listens occasionally.
He doesn't listen to any of them.
If he hears his name is on it, he'll listen.
He doesn't. He doesn't listen. If he did, he would call me once in a while. I'd be like, "Hey, man, F you, by the way." You know. But he doesn't listen.
But didn't you talk to him about the pickleball thing, and he called you about it when you talked about it on the podcast?
No,
about getting the letter from the guy.
Nope.
Oh, he didn't call you for that? You just called him?
I texted him. I told him, I said, by the way, be aware, these guys may contact you, and this is why. And he's like,
oh, okay. I misunderstood that one then on the podcast.
Yeah.
I thought that he had contacted you because you mentioned pickleball on the podcast.
I did mention it, and they reached out to me, and I told them, I said, I'd be happy to do this, but I don't know anything about your sport. I make fun of it, but here's the guy that really is behind it, and he's really super into it and wants to do a pickleball podcast. Here's his information, and I sent him, but I never heard anything further from that.
Do you know anything about pickleball?
I did know that it does not have a pickle.
Really?
Yeah.
Then
there's no pickle involved.
It's like badminton. I want a bird.
Yeah, exactly. There's no pickle involved. There is a ball of sorts and a paddle. But I don't know anything past that.
See, I've been trying to figure it out. See, I work at the Kingston Plantation, and as I'm pulling in to go to work, right by the guard shack, we actually have pickleball courts. And I'm always usually kind of running close to time to get into work, so I never get a chance. But I want to stop one day and just take a quick look and see exactly what it is that they're playing, because they're not playing tennis. It's not tennis.
I feel like if we didn't know it was a sport and someone told you that they're playing pickleball, you'd think it's like a gay sex thing. Hey, you guys playing pickleball? You know. See,
I always remember pickle as when you had the tennis ball and you're standing by the wall and you got tennis ball thrown at you, and
kind of
if you got hit, you'd have to try to avoid the ball, and if you got hit, then you got to get a free throw.
Like poor man's dodgeball.
Very similar, yes.
Yeah.
That's what I remember. But it was called pickle. At least that's I remember it called me a pickle. So when he said pickleball, I thought it was something like that. And then when I saw these guys playing...
Well, I know when you were playing, like if you play baseball and you were trying to steal a base and you got caught in between, they say that you're in a pickle.
Right.
And, but I think that's where that came from, but I don't know about pickleball. I have no idea what that's even about. Right now, the people who like pickleball right now are losing their freaking minds. Like, you guys are idiots. Quit disgracing my sport. I love this thing. You guys don't know anything. We're the fastest growing sport in the blah, 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 blah. I don't care. I really don't care.
Speaking of something I did hear, or I actually saw as well, speaking of sports, did you happen to see the #1 play on SportsCenter last night?
I heard about cricket. The guy get hit in the ball twice.
No, it's actually no.
That wasn't the.
That wasn't the #1. But I did. Yeah, you did. I did see that one.
I heard that on the radio today.
But there was a guy in England. you know how they have bowls? They play the bowls in England.
Bowling?
Well, it's bowling, but it's kind of like American version of bocce ball. They have like the little ball in the middle, and you got to try to get close. It's kind of like curling, but not on ice.
Mm-hmm.
This guy threw the most amazing shot. I've actually watched a movie a long time ago. It was a really horrible movie. I want to say it was called Black Ball, and it was about
was it porno?
Yeah, it was always
Black Ball.
Yeah. Well, no, basically it was this guy in England.
He was porno once for like 45 minutes by accident.
I figured, eventually something would come out.
That's one of Bert's jokes. I watched a gay porn once for like 45 minutes by accident. I'm just saying, ladies, you need to step up your game. That was his joke.
I actually did hear that one recently on my Sirius.
Yeah.
But no, they have a sport, and it's very similar to like curling, but it's with a ball and on a court.
Yeah.
And this guy threw the most amazing shot. I mean, I really, really believe it was almost the most impossible shot. If you get a chance, just look up ESPN SportsCenter.
I'm not Googling black ball. I'm not. I don't want that in my browser history. It's going to come up with all kinds of things in the future that are going to lead me down a dark hole.
And you'll get stuck in there for
I'm like, what's this one?
Days.
Yeah. I don't need that kind of time travel. I'm just saying. I did hear Jack Nicklaus, he's on the senior tour now for golf. There was a highlight that just comes up, like in Facebook, how they have the video sometimes, it's like you're scrolling by. He hit like a 70-foot putt. 70 foot. And like when you watched him do it, he's been playing forever. He's the golden bear, they call him, and all this stuff. He looks at it, he walks over to the ball, he just turns around and he hits it 70 foot, bloop. And it was like,
and he just acts like nothing. He just goes pick the ball up.
That's what I do, You guys don't know. I mean, I'm one of the greatest, whatever.
I wish that I could play that game.
I do too. I'm not that good.
I tried. When I lived in Tennessee with Rodney, I worked at a public country club. Mm-hmm. And so every Monday was, they called Employee Day. And you were allowed to bring up to 3 people with you. You got free clubs, free cart rentals, you could use house balls. I mean, it literally cost me nothing to play. And the 3 guys that I brought with me, I got them half price for their golf. Mm-hmm. So they all love coming out and playing with me on Mondays. We did it a couple times. After about the second week, I think we were maybe whole 3 or 4, I finally looked at them. I said, hey guys, this cannot be fun for you. I said, this has to be absolutely miserable. I said, here's what we're going to do. We're going to still keep doing this. I'll keep coming on Mondays. We'll still have a good time. You just bring me the beer, and I'm going to be your designated drunk for the day.
Yeah.
I couldn't play. Now, I love Golden Tee, and I'll stay indoors and play Golden Tee all day long.
I want to do Top Flight.
I've heard good things. I actually have a few friends that work up there at Top Golf.
Mm-hmm. Top Golf.
Here in Myrtle Beach.
Yeah.
And I've been offered to go up there a couple times, but it's expensive.
There's
it really is.
Atlanta.
There is. And if we go early on Sunday, we could probably get a decent price on an early part.
I know they got one at the beach now too.
Yeah, it's right there beside probably the beach.
I didn't know about it until I watched the YouTube stuff with Bert and them, and they had a weight loss challenge, and Ari lost the bet between Bert and Tom, and so he had to take them to something to kind of reward them, because the bet was they were going to take each other to an event or a vacation or something like that, and one of them would foot the bill. So Ari lost the bet. He took them. Listen to this. It was the college national championship game with it was with Clemson and Alabama. It was the one that went into overtime to the last play. Overtime in the last play kind of deal, where Clemson was winning up to like halftime, and then Alabama came back and won it at the end. It was in Georgia at the Atlanta.
Okay, the Georgia Dome.
Yeah,
the Mercedes-Benz Georgia Dome.
So he bought them field level tickets. So field level means they have free alcohol and food, and they were on like the 50-yard line, field level. So you figure maybe 20 rows back. Got them a limousine to and from the event. Got an Airbnb. They went out and played top golf. He said the whole weekend only cost him like $10,000 for the 3 of them to go.
Really?
Balls out.
Really? Because the tickets alone should have cost about $5,000 a piece.
He went
that seat.
He went that day and got some from a guy on the side of the street. And listen, $10,000. I thought, holy cow! For the whole weekend. That's $3,000 a piece.
Yeah.
That's a pretty cool weekend. I mean, holy cow! But I mean, now granted, $3,000 is a lot of money. But when you look at the time you had for that weekend, the Airbnb, the event, an incredible game. I mean, it's hard to say that you're going to have an incredible game. That was an incredible game to see at field level. They had a ball of the time.
Yeah, no, I'm saying. I mean, the seats alone should have been.
I want to do that one time. I want to go to something like that.
Oh,
that would be so cool.
I was so ready to sell my blood to as soon as the 49ers won the NFC Championship a couple weeks ago. I was ready. I had a buddy of mine that said he already bought his ticket and flight down there. He's like, "You coming?" I'm like, "Man, I wish I could."
Yeah, Garoppolo, man. The Patriots drafted him because they knew he was going to be the next thing. Well, and Belichick wanted him to take over, and it was Kraft who was like, "Nah, we're going to stick with Brady." And he was like,
"Well, you know the story, right?"
Mm-mm.
So John Lynch, when he took over as the GM of the 49ers, when they decided they were going to bring in somebody else, they originally called to ask about Tom Brady. Because Brady grew up a 49ers fan, Joe Montana, he's from California. So they thought he would be a great person to come in and have someone young drafted and sit underneath him, kind of like Garoppolo did in New England, because they knew that Belichick wanted Garoppolo to be the next starter. Well, when they called, Kraft said, "No, you can't have Brady." So as they were getting ready to hang up the phone, John Lynch just said, "Well, you know what about Garoppolo?" And Belichick said, "You know what? Yeah, you can have him for nothing." Because they basically gave him away for nothing.
Really?
I mean, I can't remember the exact thing, but I think they got like a 2nd and 4th round pick for him. I mean, it was absolutely nothing compared to what it could be because Brady and Belichick were at each other kind of because Brady still wanted to play, and Belichick's, he has their loyalties.
Right.
He wants to win.
He wants to win.
And so he was ready for Garoppolo to go and take over. That's the reason why I do believe that Brady will leave this year and he'll go somewhere else because he wants to prove that it's him, not just Belichick. And I think Belichick wants him to go somewhere.
I think it would be better for everybody if he went somewhere. I think he still could win another ring with somebody. I think that the 49ers, I mean, the Patriots will still be better once he's gone. It'll help everybody if he leaves after this year. Because just like Peyton Manning's situation, when the Colts had to go, I think we're just going to cut ties. I know me as a fan of Peyton, not of the Colts, but of Peyton, watching him play, you go, you got to get one more ring. You can't let Eli be the guy with 2 rings and you have 1. And then when he went to the Broncos and started winning, you were like, even if you weren't a Bronco fan, you're like, do it, man.
And I have to agree because I'm not an AFC fan. I'm an NFC fan. Other than the Cowboys.
But I mean, let's face it, Peyton Manning is one of the best quarterbacks we've ever seen in our lifetime, and we got the joy of watching him be recruited and play and from day one and win on his own level. I mean, no one's ever played quarterback like he has to sit back there and instantly just call plays and go, oh, I see this. Hey, you move here, we're going to do this. And then
he read defenses better than most defensive coordinators in the game now.
Yeah.
You know, I was watching a little small thing on him the other day. They were talking about it. It was Deion Sanders and him talking back and forth. And he was talking about all the, the motions and the words that he would use. Each motion or word had a different meaning. Like the motions were for the wide receivers, the words were for the linemen because they didn't need to know the same thing.
Yeah.
All he was telling the linemen was move to the right this way. Wide receivers move to the left this way. But none of them knew that any of the other things were changed other than what they were doing.
Right. They had their own specific lane.
Right.
Something they
and
heard.
So every single time he was literally basically he was general of the whole ground, and he could read every single thing that was going on.
I think everybody was rooting for Favre the same way when the Packers let him go.
Well, yeah.
Even though that was a smart move by the Packers, and Favre could have won if he had not had so many concussions.
It wasn't just that; it was the Favre thing that he did against the Saints. I mean, that's just you knew that was the way it had to end.
Yeah.
I mean, he was going to cross body throws, an unwarranted throw, and throw it right into an interception.
Yeah.
I mean, but no, there's no doubt he had the ability.
He was a fan
favorite.
He
had the skills.
But I think he had too many concussions. I think that much of getting hit in the head, as hard as he got hit, it really affected his judgment in a lot of ways. And, we listen to people talk about CTE all the time. Matter of fact, Netflix has a special right now about Aaron Hernandez, and they said that they autopsied his brain afterwards, and they were like, oh, this is the worst case of CTE we've ever seen on anybody. It's like, holy cow. I mean, but it makes you think, like, if you're a parent out there and you have a child that wants to play football, you go, maybe we look at baseball.
Let's
play baseball instead. How about that?
The game of football as we know it will not be the same in 20 years.
Oh, I agree.
100%.
I agree.
Did you hear about the change they're trying to do with the Pro Bowl?
Uh-uh.
So they're playing with the new rule. So instead of an onside kick, you get the ball at 4th and 15 at your 25. And if you convert, then you get to keep the possession. If you don't, they get the ball on your side of the field.
The Pro Bowl is just a joke anyway.
Right, but they're trying it. This is one of those things that just like they did with the the no kickoff.
Mm-hmm.
They're just trying these things to see how they go, and I do believe that these are things that are in the works. But also at the same time, I think that this is a joke.
Yeah.
I mean, they've had helmets that would be much more protective and beneficial for players for years now, but the NFL's turned them down based on the fact they're not TV friendly.
Rogan has an opinion that helmets need to go back to leather because if you don't have so much padding, you're not as willing to put your head into a spear, use it as a weapon. If you know it's going to hurt you, you're not going to use it as much. And I think he's right. I think there's a certain element to that. If you had less padding on, you're less likely to smack into each other as hard as you do. I mean, it is a contact sport. It's a gladiator sport.
Well, yeah, I agree it's a gladiator sport.
And here's the weird thing is, like, we want to support these guys who literally put their lives on the line, put their bodies on the line
for our entertainment,
and reward them. And it's all just entertainment, exactly. And yet, for some reason, like, we give them a platform and we want to hear what they think, and it's like, no, I'm not really paying to hear what you think. Like, I agree that you're a person and that you can develop and have your own thoughts and stuff like that. But also, I'm just here to watch you play a gladiator sport and beat the crap out of each other. And we're not willing to actually say that out loud, which I think
no one's going to say it out loud.
I think that's also why the UFC is such a popular sport now.
That was exactly what I was about to say.
The brutality
I miss boxing.
Yeah.
I miss the science of boxing.
But boxing has gotten so meticulous. You and I talked about that the other day about how, Floyd Mayweather is by far the best boxer we've ever seen in our lifetime.
He's boring as hell
to watch. As a
language,
boxing fan, and we grew up watching Mike Tyson bulldog people and just frighten them. Ronda Rousey was one of the most popular UFC fighters ever because she had that same bulldog mentality. That's one of the reasons Conor McGregor is so popular. He when he comes after you, you better be careful because it's going to end quickly. And they all say that. If the match is over in the first or second round, it's because he came after you. If it goes 4 rounds, the other guy's probably going to win. He just doesn't have that longevity. But we live in a gladiator society because our lives on a daily basis are more nerfed down now. We have a safer life in general. And I'm not saying it's good or bad. I'm just saying that no matter what, we're always going to look back at it and go, I really miss the days that blah, 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 whatever it is.
Oh, yeah.
Even as a fan of football as we are, I think we can all agree that it was a pleasure to watch people like Barry Sanders play running back. I know that the generation before that said, you don't know anything. You should have seen
Earl Campbell or
whoever. And they may be right. But in our lifetime, Barry Sanders was a video game all himself. Bo Jackson. Holy cow.
Did you know this?
Deion Sanders playing out. If the ball came anywhere near Deion, you're like, this could be over soon. If the ball's in the air and he was in the area, you're like, this is going to be returned. Yeah. Prime time. Holy cow. And I wasn't a Deion fan, but if he caught the ball, I was like, this is about to blow up. Like the game is going to change right here. You knew it every time the ball was in the air near him.
And as a Niners and Redskins fan and a hater of the Cowboys, I watched a lot of Diaz. Yeah. So trust me, I understand. Now, real quick, back to what you were saying about the Bo Jackson thing. I was watching a thing on ESPN. They did the E60 whatever. Mm-hmm. Something I didn't know and I hadn't heard. Do you know that when Bo Jackson got his leg hurt in that game against Cincinnati, in I believe it was '89, I believe was the in AFC Championship game, they said that if Bo hadn't been as strong as he was,
I heard that,
he wouldn't have been injured like a lifetime.
Yeah.
Like it was because of his strength that he was able to pull out of the tackle.
Yeah.
And when he did, that's when he pulled it out of the socket.
Yeah.
So like Jalen Hurts has the exact same issue. That injury that put him out the last time, that was the same injury that Bo Jackson had. But the difference is he didn't have the power in his legs that Bo Jackson had.
Yeah.
And so he was able to heal from it.
He was a one-of-a-kind athlete. Holy cow.
Freak. An absolute gorgeous freak.
And here's one of the things that drew me to sports, because when I was a kid, we didn't watch sports. We were, like I said, we were blue-collar construction people. We didn't watch sports until I moved to South Carolina, and my mom married Dave, and suddenly I had two cousins that were around my age who were like, we're going to watch this kid named Michael Jordan play basketball for North Carolina. I'm like, what? Who's it? Michael who? And then I watched him on the court, and I thought, holy cow.
Poetry.
And then Barry Sanders. And then, talent started emerging that you could not draw yourself away from the TV when they were on, because you were like, this is something different.
Same thing how I became a 49ers fan. Maybe most people probably think it was Montana, Rice. No. It started off because of Ronnie Lott.
Yeah. It was impressive.
I was trying to play football. I was horrible, but I was trying. But I played a little bit of cornerback and free safety. And Ronnie Lott was just the man at the time.
Yeah.
Granted, today he could never play in the game.
Right.
Him, John Lynch, any of the big guys that were just crazy.
Yeah.
But in the process.
And the athlete looks different now. Now it's a year-round athlete, where back then it was a seasonal athlete. There was a comparison recently I saw where it had LeBron and Jordan. Of course, everybody likes to compare LeBron and Jordan. But they said, who would have more rings if Jordan played in today's era at his prime, or if LeBron played in his era at Jordan's time area in his prime? And I thought, well, that's an interesting idea, because LeBron physically looks like the Terminator. I mean, he looks like the avatar character that you would want in a build-your-own-character video game. But he doesn't have that killer instinct that Jordan had. There's a reason Jordan was so good, and a lot of it was because he had a brokenness about his moral compass. He had to compete and beat you and never take a playoff. It was something wrong with his brain that made him that good. And listen, I think that LeBron's a better person. I would much rather have a conversation with LeBron.
He's 100% a better person, I believe. You're right.
Jordan is a douche.
100%.
But,
and I hate to say that because he's a childhood idol, but he is a douche.
But I still think that if you took Jordan in today's society, Jordan would dominate because his willingness to outwit you and outwork you, he would outwork everybody.
Well, you know, we got to see a Jordan in our lifetime that played like that. His name was Kobe.
The Black Mamba.
That is what I'm saying. Like you know, all these people want to compare Jordan and LeBron. There's no comparison. They're two different styles.
He was broken in the same kind of ways.
My opinion, it's more better to try to compare Jordan and Kobe.
Yeah.
And if I'm going to compare anyone to LeBron, it's going to be Magic.
Yeah.
Because
they can play every position.
Every position, they had great handle, they had great ball skills, they had great vision.
But Magic had more of a killer instinct.
Well, he did. He did. But
Magic, see, here's the thing, is Magic knew he was part of something special and knew that he was the special. And he was going to will his team to do everything better. Like, he never took a moment not to congratulate somebody or to pull them aside and say, hey, I'm going to do this with you. I want you to come over here and do this. Like, he was a strategy guy while he played. You watch him in games pull people aside and say, hey, when we come up here, I'm going to do this and do this. LeBron really doesn't talk to people much. He's pretty to himself.
I agree with that till he came to the Lakers. I think he was like that.
Is he different now?
I think he's changed a lot this year. I think he's more team oriented.
Anthony Davis?
I think it has a little bit to do with that he has actually someone with him. It's like kind of like when he...
Or because of his age, maybe.
Well, a little bit of his age because he knows he's getting, a little bit older, but he's still a specimen on him.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, he's still magnificent to watch.
When he wants to do something, he'll do
If he wants to go to the hole, you can't stop him.
Yeah.
Period.
Yeah.
But, I mean, it's the same thing like...
But Kawhi Leonard right now is kind of playing on that level.
Kawhi's on a different level.
Kawhi is like, I want to make this happen, and I'm going to make everybody do it with me, and he wills it to.
I mean, don't get me wrong, they've got some really good players on the team this year in Toronto that have helped them, keep and maintain that chance to go back to the playoffs this year. But what Kawhi did for that team last year, I mean, he carried that whole team on his back and said, hey, I'm taking us to the finals.
Yeah.
And, I mean, yes, he was aided by the fact that Golden State was a little bit injured. Mm-hmm. But he said, I'm taking this team to the championship.
And not to take anything away from the Golden State Warriors, I mean, holy cow. Who would have saw that coming?
And I've only seen that twice in my life in basketball. And that was LeBron when he was first with the Cavaliers and he took them by himself with nobody. And then, personally, the greatest one I think of ever was watching Allen Iverson take those 76er teams with nobody.
Garbage team.
Yeah. And they almost beat the Lakers in the championship.
Reggie Miller the entire time he was with the Pacers. He never had any support. He was doing it all by himself. I mean, literally all by himself. Meanwhile, trash talking Spike Lee on the sidelines. People like, watch this.
Yeah. 8 points in 15 seconds.
Yeah. It's like, holy cow. But we were talking about it before. Charles Barkley. Just a force to reckon with. I mean, you didn't have to like him. He was going to make you pissed off at some point, but he was going to will his team to win somehow.
He was not a role model.
He was not a role model.
And he was just a round mound of rebound.
I just loved him. When he got angry and wanted something to happen, you better just get out of the way. But, you look at the quality of competition back then, and yes, LeBron would have been dominant back then. But I don't know that he...
The body types weren't like that back then either, though. I mean, nobody... I mean, Karl Malone was kind of like... Sean Kemp would be the closest thing that I could say that is LeBron today. And he did dominate.
Patrick Ewing.
And he did dominate.
Yeah.
But he had Gary Payton as well.
Yeah.
And Detlef and a few other players. But we're not going to go deep down that hole. But Sean Kemp was he's the only player in my lifetime that I consider to be kind of the same kind of build type.
Patrick Ewing was built like him too.
But Patrick wasn't athletic as Sean Kemp or LeBron James. They both have athleticism, speed, and quickness.
True. Yeah, Patrick was
a big man, and he was opposing down low.
He was a blue-collar guy.
But he wasn't going to take you from the 3-point line and drive it to the basket.
Kevin Garnett.
Garnett was nasty.
Garnett would play every position.
Garnett was
7
nasty.
foot too.
Funny, did I ever tell you about the fact that Lawrence actually told me about Garnett before he got in the NBA?
Oh yeah.
When he was up in North Greenville playing baseball for North Greenville College. Said he went to a basketball game in Malden, and said this kid he had already scored 30 something points by the half. I mean they sat him down for the second half. So this guy was jumping through the roof of the gymnasium. He said, "Watch out for this kid name. His name's Kevin Garnett." 2 years later is when he ended up going to the NBA. But well, story is he didn't make it to his SAT to go to college because he was thinking about going either North Carolina or South Carolina for 1 year, but he missed his SAT test and had to go to the NBA.
Chris Webber.
Yeah, but I don't think he ever lived down the timeout.
The Fab Five timeout.
He never let himself live it down, and it was a mistake. He was a freshman, and he
was a tremendous talent. Holy cow.
Unbelievable.
Yeah.
Those Kings teams.
Yeah.
Were so fun. Jason Williams.
Yes.
I watched some of those old highlights the other day. And
there's videos of him now playing pickup ball in the park.
Yeah, I saw him on that too. But I'm saying I saw some of the stuff that he did in the games and stuff back when they had,
He's in his 50s and he's dominating. It's like, holy cow, that's not even fair.
The first time I ever saw him throw the elbow and do the pass back and then put the elbow out and it goes the opposite way.
Yeah.
I didn't see it live and they showed it, on the replay and I'm like, did that really just happen?
Yeah. Yeah, his ball handling skills were crazy. Of course, you watch old highlight films, and Pistol Pete Maravich was like that. I didn't get to see him play, but now you can watch YouTube videos of him playing, and you're like, holy cow! Like, these guys have been building off each other all this time, watching each other's highlights and going, I think I can do that. It's just I feel lucky that we've got to see such incredible talent.
Oh.
I don't think that the game has been the same since Jordan left. I think that we've got to see some incredible talent since. Like me personally, I'm a huge Dwayne Wade fan. More to the fact of, he is a great player, but I like the fact that he outplays his body all the time. Like, he damages his body trying to make things happen, and does. But to me, his legacy will always be him diving out of bounds and throwing back a rebound over and over and over again, sacrificing his body for something, and blowing out his knee because he's outworking somebody who has more talent than him, but he's like, no, you're not going to outwork me. And he would just break his body down playing, and I was inspired watching him. I wasn't a Heat fan, but D Wade, in my opinion, is one of the best players I've ever seen play the ball.
100%. I love watching D Wade. The player reminds me of, and again, I am a Bulls fan just because of the Jordan era as well. But years even before, I watched him young. But Dennis Rodman was that guy for me.
Yeah.
He wasn't physically gifted. He was just a tall guy, but he wanted that ball more than anybody else on the court.
I remember reading about how when they were on that run with the Bulls, that he would go to practice, he would play the game, and then afterwards he would get on the treadmill and ride for another 3 hours on the treadmill to keep up his cardio, because he's like, I'm not gonna let anybody outwork me. He says, eventually we're gonna be in the finals, and I gotta beat up Shaq, and I'm undersized, and he did. He totally did.
What I'm saying, and the thing
he made Shaq so angry.
he changed his game for that. Because one thing I didn't know, and I heard a stat, when he was in Detroit, he averaged 10 to 12 points a game. But as he got into later in his career, they didn't need that. They just needed him to get the ball.
Yeah.
And so he redefined his whole game, and he got that ball, and he wanted it more than anybody else on the court.
It was an all-star team. It was amazing.
Even when he was in San Antonio, when the whole worm thing started.
Yeah.
He just outworked you. You were not going to outwork Dennis Rodman.
Yeah.
Crazy, freaky, whatever he may be, you weren't going to outwork him.
Yeah. And we just don't see that kind of stuff now.
Very little.
I don't see anybody doing that.
I think I see one guy.
The Greek Freak?
The Greek Freak. I heard a story.
He's phenomenal.
I heard a story one night. He missed a free throw that was going to win the game.
Yeah.
And he missed it. And he went across the street after the game and shot 1,000 free throws.
Who was the guy that used to play for Charlotte? Rice.
Oh, Glenn Rice. Glenn Rice.
Yeah, I heard that he used to practice with the lights off in the gymnasium because he wanted to have the feel for it. He would shoot threes for like hours every night because he wanted to have the feel for where the 3-point line was. And no matter where he was on the court, he wanted to be able to feel it out so that when it came game time, it was automatic.
Yeah, because muscle memory.
I was so inspired by that.
The one NBA game I've been to in my life was the Charlotte Hornets. I got to see Glenn Rice play against those Jordan Bulls.
Wow. That'd be cool.
It's the only time I've ever been to an NBA game in my life.
I went when I was a little kid. I had a babysitter once that took me to see the Hawks play in Atlanta when we lived in Atlanta. And I got to see Dominique Wilkins do the windmill dunk. That was and Spud Webb was on the team. But I just remember as a kid, we didn't watch sports much, but I had heard who Dominique Wilkins was.
We went to this thing,
and man, he flew through the air and did that windmill dunk. And I mean, the whole place erupted. I was like,
You became a sports fan.
I didn't realize it then, but I became a basketball fan that day. I mean, I didn't watch basketball again for years, but I watched him do that dunk, and I was like, you can physically do that? Holy cow. I can't believe I just watched that happen. And he did it several times in the game. And every time he did it, you knew it was coming. You're like, oh, here it comes. And it was so, like, later on, we saw Jordan play. Whenever he started running, you're like, oh, it's about to get nasty. Yeah.
Somebody's about to get posterized.
Somebody's going to get dunked on. And even the guys that were supposed to guard him would stop because they said, I remember multiple people saying, yeah, we knew we were supposed to defend it, but as soon as he jumped near, we couldn't help but watch because it was like, I can't believe he's doing this.
Well, while we're on the subject of NBA, my last statement about the NBA, I just want to give a big shout out to Vince Carter. 4 decades.
4 decades. Good job.
4 decades, and he's still putting up points and still being productive.
Yeah.
Just an absolute great career.
I hope they give him some kind of like Iron Man award or something. You know, like Cal Ripken got the Iron Man award for baseball because he never missed a game.
Right.
I mean, I hope that they give Vince some kind of notoriety of.
Oh, he'll definitely have to get.
I mean, Hall of Fame at least.
Oh, he'll be Hall of Fame
for being 4 decades, noteworthy of being a star.
His career alone is good enough to get him into the Hall of Fame, but the fact that his longevity in the game, there's gonna be something. They're gonna name a award after him or something.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, big shout out. That's awesome. Well, cool, man. Let's wrap this up. We did an hour and 16 minutes. How about that?
Wow.
It goes quickly when you have stuff to talk about, right? So anyway, thank you to everybody who's tuned in and listened, and please listen out for information on Treadaway's new podcast, The Bald and the Beautiful, we're going to call it. That may not be what it's called, but we're just going to throw that out there because, I got to come up with ideas. But anyway, I'll keep you up abreast of what's going on with that, and if Josh West ever starts any podcast whatsoever to speak of. Big shout out to him, even though he doesn't listen to this, and his wife Angie. And hey, if you're in the Atlanta area and you're going to see Joey Diaz, reach out to us on social media, and we'll get together and have a little cocktail. You know what I'm saying?
A little popsicle action.
So big shout out to Uncle Joey, and we'll be seeing you tomorrow, brother. And as I end this thing always, feed the cow. That was good.
I got to pee like a